Coming Down is proudly sponsored by Colorado Ganja Gear, high-quality, artistically inspired herb grinders. So let me tell you, these things are great. I actually own one. My favorite part is the perfect consistency you get after grinding. Some grinders just pulverize your herb into dust, but the razor-sharp teeth and smooth action on these always leave you with perfect, fluffy, evenly ground herb. The craftsmanship is top-notch, made from aircraft-grade aluminum, to guarantee you won't get metal shavings mixed into your herb. But the best part, truly, is each grinder features original artwork created by Colorado artist Lori Beatty. She creates unique mandalas that are laser-etched into each magnetic lid. And each grinder comes in a silk bag and has free shipping. So just go to etsy.com/shop/Colorado Ganja Gear and enter the code COMINGDOWN in all caps for $5 off, or go to the show notes for this episode and follow the link. Thanks and enjoy the episode.
Hello everyone and welcome to Coming Down. This is Matthew. I'm joined here by my co-host Nathan.
Why, hello.
Welcome.
Indeed. So, I actually have a cool thing that happened to me.
Oh my god. Lay it on me.
Usually it's like, boring work stuff, and then I played some board games, but that's not particularly interesting. But this week I bought a car.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I've sat in said car.
You did, and it starts with a 2, which is crazy. I've never owned anything but a total beater.
Oh, God, right?
Well,
me
that's
too.
not entirely true. I had a fairly nice Pathfinder that my mom sold to me for a time. But
yeah, and I guess my first car, even though it was an 83, was in very good condition. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a Mazda that was in good condition for a time because it was my grandparents. But still, this is crazy. This is like practically a new car. 50,000 miles, 2014. Fucking, brilliant. It's nuts, dude.
Dude, yeah, I love it.
I'm an adult, finally.
My own house and keys and friends.
Yeah, but here is the sort of exciting thing that happened. So we bought the car on Saturday, and then I'm driving home, and I'm coming down 82nd, just past Holgate, and I see a ton of lights in the distance, like cop lights. I was like, oh shit, man, like, thought maybe something was going down, like an accident at the intersection, like way ahead or something. And then all of a sudden I see the lights first because they're moving, and I see these lights just hauling ass down 82nd, and then I look just ahead of him, and there is like a black Lincoln Town car doing like 70 down 82nd, and there's traffic everywhere, and I'm like, holy shit, this is a high-speed chase. And as I sort of make that realization, the guy who's running from the cops, I see him like swerve around this car and then almost lose control of his vehicle, and I like swerved because I thought he was gonna like lose control and wipe out right into me.
Oh my god!
Like, wouldn't have that been, the ink's not even dry on the paperwork, and like get fucking nailed by some like high-speed chase. Like, what the hell? But yeah, it was nuts, man. I like looked in the eyes of this guy as he like flew past me, and then this cop flies past, and then like 9 more cops flew past.
Jesus.
Yeah, and they like spaced themselves out, so I'm guessing there's probably some like protocol so that they can dip off and try and flank them if they need, because they were like staggering themselves intentionally, but all hauling ass down 82nd. Because it looked like they were grouped up in one area, and then we're all just sort of like coming out of the gate. But I hopped on the like PDX alerts Twitter or whatever,
right?
Found out it didn't say what the initial crime was or why they were running from the cops, but I guess they got spike stripped up at Powell.
Ooh, brutal.
And so got fucking taken care of. But they flew past me at around Holgate, and so I had just driven by Powell, and I don't know how they got there and put spikes down that quickly.
I was going to say, but I mean, who knows? Maybe they whipped a bitch and went back the other way.
Yeah, totally. I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea.
Pulled some Dukes of Hazzard shit.
Dude, it is crazy, man. I've obviously never bore witness to a high-speed chase in person, and you hear about them, and usually they're on like highways and stuff.
Right.
This was crazy, man. There's traffic everywhere.
Nuts.
It's so dangerous. Like,
on surface streets, you're just asking for a fucking accident,
Yeah, going that fast and like swerving around cars and like flying through the median and stuff. It's like, damn, dude, this is crazy.
That's fucking balls out, Jesus.
Yeah. So that was my like slight moment of excitement this week.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, totally.
Almost getting your new car totaled by some fucking hooligan.
Right?
Jesus.
Oh, man. Yeah, it was wild. But what this new car does for me is just insane. Because for the listener at home, for those of you who know me, you knew that I commuted to the burbs, and I would spend about 3 hours a day on buses and trains getting my ass to work. And it was cool because my work paid for all my transit, so I saved a ton of money doing that. But I've done that for like 4 years now, and like it's just pretty depressing after a while when you're like, I spend 15 hours a week on buses and trains, like 2 whole work shifts basically on just traveling to my job. And boy, now I don't have to do that. Like I bought myself like 2 extra hours a day, so it's fucking crazy, dude.
No, that's amazing. You know, makes me wonder how I lived when I was in LA and like it was an hour and a half just to go hang out with a buddy. You know?
I hear people who are, like live in LA talk about that, because if you just want to get to the other side of town or like a different like borough or whatever, it's like an hour and a half.
That's a good day. You know, like to get from my place in Topanga to San Bernardino, it was, I want to say, like a 4.5 hour drive.
Jesus.
And that was just, you know, what you did.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, we only did that to go to Ren Fair. You know, like we would drive all the way out there and then camp out the whole weekend.
Yeah.
But,
still, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's just traversing a metro area.
Yeah. Exactly.
Jeez, man.
San Dimas was my halfway point.
Yeah.
Waterloo!
Yeah. Wild Stallions!
Exactly. Oh, you know they're making a 3, right?
I do, man. Yeah. I'm pretty excited for it.
What was more astonishing to me than that they're going to make a Bill and Ted 3 is that they've been trying to make Bill and Ted 3 since they made 2.
Oh, yeah. They've been threatening forever.
So,
and, yeah.
You know, apparently it's time.
Apparently it is time. It's hilarious. I saw the picture that one of the two tweeted out, you know, because they were hanging out, and it's like, it's happening.
Right.
And, like, boy, Bill just looks haggard.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, Keanu has aged, like, 2 years.
Yeah, he's got a picture of Dorian Gray somewhere. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Yeah, Bill, the one who's not Keanu Reeves.
Bill, yeah.
Yeah, Bill.
Alex Winter. We can call him by his real name.
Yeah.
He's not just Bill, but...
No last names, bro! Yeah, the rock star's son is not looking super great these days.
No. But, how about yourself? Any wild stories for the week, or should we just get into it?
You know, nothing wild. You know, the usual, like, overworked bullshit, but, you know.
Yeah.
It actually wasn't that bad this week. So.
That's cool. Yeah, just regular old trudge.
Yeah, you know, the pretzel minds were kind to me.
Nice.
But yeah, you know, as far as this episode goes, you know, I feel like we really just, it's hard to follow last week, you know, like.
Yeah, that was a wild ride.
Jesus, man. So, you know, I figured we'd turn it away from the usual chicanery.
Yeah.
And, you know, do something that's a story that doesn't involve the police and
right.
drugs. And,
one could almost even call this heartfelt.
Yeah, so you know, it's something from my deep past, but it's a story that I've told a few times, and you know, I'm pretty sure the first time I smoked weed is in there somewhere. So,
yep. Well, in one of our early Colorado connections.
Yeah.
You know, when we were getting to know each other, it was like, I've been to Fort Collins. Oh, no shit. And then,
yeah, I've been to Cherry Creek Park. Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Have I been to Cherry Creek Park? Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Well, shit, man. Yeah, let's just,
let's do it.
Let's get into it.
Cool. So, yeah, I mean, you know, usual formula applies. If you are looking for show notes or anything about this episode, you're going to want to go to comingdownpod.com. It's also going to have links to all of our platforms, as well as our Patreon. If you'd like to be a supporter, you can just click the link on the website, or you can go to patreon.com/comingdownpod. We've got just $1 tier for now, but coming soon.
I know. We keep threatening, but like I have stickers in my hand.
Oh, yeah. I am currently looking at one of them.
Yeah.
Like, they are beautiful.
Well,
and we've got more stuff on the way. So we will have tiers, we will have merch, we will have rewards and gifts and stretch goals. So yeah, if you'd like to get in on the Patreon, we would really appreciate it. And a huge thank you to everyone who has contributed already.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, thank you all so much.
If you'd like to contact us or if you'd like to be on the show, hit us up on Twitter. It's @comingdownpod, or you can email us, comingdownpod@gmail.com. The platforms that we are on include Spotify, Google Play, SoundCloud. It's a brand new platform that no one's heard of. Now we're also on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, and if you'd like to give us a rate and review, hit us up on Stitcher. We'd really appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Well, let's go!
We've only been asking for pockets for the last, 50 years, you guys.
Oh my god. I work with a lot of women who have to wear pants for their job. And
you know how shitty fucking women's dress pants are, right?
They're showing me, they're like, look at these fucking pockets.
Or the fake ones.
That's what they are.
None or
they're
fake.
like, look, it's just, it's just a seam made to look like a pocket. And then I found out that I have slacks that have had the back pockets sewn shut.
They do that for, packing purposes and stuff so it doesn't get fucked up, but you can just, seam rip it.
Right,
and you got even an extra
I
one.
had let it go for so long that it was like... Oh, it's seam ripper, yeah. You actually didn't need to use a seam ripper.
Yeah, because they're, loose stitches just to keep it, together or whatever in case you wanted it, flush. But if you want to use them, you just seam rip it.
Right.
You're good to go.
But I'm just like, man, why did you build real pockets on these and then fucking sew them shut?
Yeah, it is stupid on the surface. When I was, explained, the purpose, because that's how I felt. And then I was like, I guess, if you, want to choose not to use them, or, for, transportation purposes so they don't get, all fucked up.
Well, my thing is my ass looks a lot better without pockets on it, So,
that's exactly why they don't fucking put pockets on women's dress pants.
Oh, God.
Because the idea is women's...
right into that one, didn't I?
Because women's... That's exactly why. They don't even usually... Sometimes they'll still put the fake seam, but sometimes they don't, because, especially dress pants, because women are wearing dress pants with heels more often than not, so they're already accentuating the ass, so why would you want to be able to use your pockets on your ass? Because you're already using it for male attention.
Right.
It already has... You're already using it for something.
And that's just the continued tone-deaf thing about men designing clothes for women, because it goes back to, heels. It's heels were designed to make women's asses look better.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's just... Wow.
And that's why I just cringe every time, okay, again, if you need the fucking gratification, men, thank you for trying to, decide that your next clothing line is gonna be fucking for women. Okay, if you need the gratification of, thank you, man, for doing this thing, then fine. At the end of the day, though, it's still just another man, trying to decide, that he knows what's going on with women's clothes.
In this particular case, yes.
It's just
it's really unfortunate, and
it's just sorry if I'm not excited. The next, fucking popular male fucking fashion designer out there is I think I really got it this time. It's what do you got? What'd you do?
Yeah.
How'd you get it,
Yeah, it's,
Sorry, it's a soapbox I can't help but jump on, because it's just fucking infuriating.
That's fair.
The fact that, my pant size is a 1. That's it. That's all I get. My pant size is a 1.
You don't have, waist and inseam?
No.
Nope.
If you're lucky, you'll find a store that will do a 1 standard or regular, a 1 short, and sometimes a 1 long.
Jesus Christ. I wouldn't have pants if it weren't for waist and inseam.
Even worse, because usually they don't even give you that. Usually there's no, length thing. Both Old Navy and Target, which are the 2 places that I last purchased pants, only have pant sizes in even numbers.
Christ.
So they had a 0 and they had a 2, but they didn't have a 1. So I had to just figure out which one technically fit better than the other because I needed pants. And I spent $20 or $30. I mean, they're not as expensive as $80 pants, but I spent $20 or $30 a pair getting pants that were ill-fitting for me because they don't give a fuck about women's sizes. It's and I mean, again, I'm small, but I'm the start. like, everyone that's, like, more normal size than me has a larger number than me. And so, like, yeah, people that are, like, you know, size 14 they don't even look, like, obese or anything. Yet, like, that's right. Expected to be large, where I'm expected to be, like, the start. Like, why am I not a -6? Like, I just don't understand, like,
right?
what's happening here.
I have a friend who used to work in retail, and I forget what exactly the business she was working at. Probably a good thing that we're not disparaging anyone here, but she said that most of what she did was fitting people for, like, weddings and that kind of thing, and everyone insisted that they were a size 2.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case. Most women are... I believe the average size is between 12 and 16, something like that.
That seems right. Certainly. Especially if you've had a kid or whatever. Yeah, like,
you know. So, you know, like, she just had to be like, cool, don't look at the tag, it's a size 2.
Oh, shit. Right, so that, to make a sale, and B, to not get fucking ripped apart for, like...
No, I swear I'm a size 2.
Yeah,
like,
right? Oh, boy.
Yeah, I'm not going to shoehorn you into this thing that you're going to hate. You know?
I've read several articles on how just completely fucked the women's fashion industry is. Not only that, it's like predatory on how they actually build the clothes. Right. That they build them thinner so that women need to, like, buy multiple layers, and they encourage that. It's like, oh, you get all these different layers. You get the camisole with the bra, with the shawl, with the fucking cardigans.
Everything has to be washed on delicate cycle. Yeah, and it all rips.
Yeah, and it's all just, like, trash made, and it's like you have to buy 4 different things just to, like, make your top work out and accessorize. Yeah. It's bullshit.
Meanwhile, we can just throw on a t-shirt and jeans and fucking roll out, you know?
Yep, I know. It's bullshit, for sure.
Yeah. Fucking A. God damn.
Well, you want to tell a story about some other bullshit?
No, I think we should just leave it there.
That's the episode.
Let's just bum everybody out.
All right, thanks for listening.
Yep, well done. We did it. Guess you don't need to hear anymore. No, I definitely have a story.
Hell yeah.
So, let's see. How the fuck old am I here? It's... I want to say this was the summer between... freshman and sophomore year of high school. So I'd had just enough high school to know that, like, there was some rad shit out there. I want to say that this was like 92. Let's see, I graduated in 96, so summer between freshman and sophomore year would have been like 93, right?
Yeah, okay. Sounds about right.
So,
and knowing this story and the age that I was at and remembering this, I think you're about right on that. So
yeah, and like I want to say like Kurt Cobain died that spring, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right, man. And actually, I feel like this was a big year because I think Cobain died. When did Jerry die?
93.
Okay, so it was the same year, right?
Yeah, but he died later that year.
Okay, but it was later. But yeah, I remember this year being pretty impactful.
No, maybe he died. Fuck. Anyway, Jerry definitely died that year. I'm unclear on exactly when. We thought that they were going to play Autzen Stadium that summer, so we didn't go see the Dead in Portland that spring or late winter, and we have regretted it ever since.
Jerry died in 95.
Okay. So never mind.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah, because I hadn't really, like, started doing drugs at this point. Like, oh yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, get this in perspective. So it's
Kurt Cobain died in 94.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's right, cuz I hadn't done any drugs at this point. So it's
and the story you're about to tell is 93.
Yeah, so it's 93. Okay. I was right.
Okay.
It's completely wrong about all the rock stars dying.
Well, look, none of that happened yet, but it's fine.
Yeah, well, no, it makes sense that none of it had happened yet. Actually, thinking about the story that I'm about to tell, it makes perfect sense that none of that had happened yet. So anyway, it's 93, and that summer, the Pope is coming to Denver for World Youth Day. And at this point in my life, I've been involved with the youth group in the Catholic Church for some time. Like, I believe I started in like 7th or 8th grade is about when I really started giving a shit about youth group, and it was because of this Catholic summer camp that I was going to. Mm-hmm. That's actually going to be another story, is just about this
Catholic summer camp.
Well, specifically this one rad Catholic summer camp that I went to that was just kind of like this hideaway for...
I love that was your qualifier, a rad Catholic summer camp. Not the horrifying, weird, awful... Catholic summer camp.
Because, I mean, a lot of people, they think Catholic summer camp and they're like, oh, fuck, he had to, like, be sequestered in a place with a bunch of fucking priests and, like, talk about Jesus for a week.
At best.
You know, but, like, yeah, exactly. I mean, like, whew, man, it could definitely get darker than that with that in mind. But no, in fact, just as an aside, because this is definitely, like, another story, but the woman who at the time was the administrator for this camp was a nun by the name of Sister Catherine, who may or may not have been a closet lesbian. It's suspected that she was. And she had kind of created this safe haven for people in seminary and the other word for that is the one for nuns. It's not abbey, but...
Covenant?
Covenant, there we go.
There you go. Look at me. I
convent. No, convent.
Damn it. I almost had a Catholic term correct.
The priests who were in the brothers who were in seminary and the sisters who were in convent had kind of like this, who were gay or just, you know, like questionable of any kind, like people who were like not really fitting the necessarily societal mold were like, it was a safe place, you know, like for freaks of all stripes. And they weren't really pushing the whole God thing too hard to the kids either. It was just kind of like, this is a safe place for you to be away from your crazy white trash parents, because it was like Eastern Oregon. That's who the diocese was.
Okay, yeah. Know? So this feels very different than what I would expect.
Exactly. And
you think it was due to Oregon? Or?
No, it was due to this one nun being cool. She was like, there's all these seminaries in the Baker diocese, and like.
So, for someone like me, explain to me, what is a diocese?
Okay, so a diocese is just the way that they break up territory in the Catholic Church. Like, there's the Portland Archdiocese, because that's where the archbishop is.
I see.
And there's like a cathedral here in Portland.
And what determines an archdiocese versus a regular?
There's an archbishop versus a regular bishop.
Okay, what determines an archbishop versus a regular bishop?
That's gonna be some hair splitting that I can't necessarily get too detailed on, but an archbishop is higher up than a bishop and kind of lords over some bishops who are under him in a certain geographical region. And so you've got your archbishop who's in the Portland diocese, and then you've got maybe another diocese somewhere else in Oregon, like the western side.
Now, are regions in America broken up by state, or is it really just like regions? They have their own weird map.
It's usually according to population. Like, if there's, you know, only a bunch of small towns and whatever, then like that's just kind of like a big area. Like, for example, the Baker diocese is essentially everything east of the Cascades up to the Idaho border, and it's centered in the town of Baker, where there is a cathedral, because they thought that Baker was going to be the capital of Oregon at one point. In fact, the streets in Baker are fucking wide as hell because they thought that it was going to be this bustling metropolis.
No shit.
Well, and I mean, to their credit, at the time, it was in the middle of the Oregon Territory, because that was Idaho, Washington, and Oregon. And it was right on the Snake River, so they thought that, you know, that was a good place for commerce. It was also at the place where the Oregon Trail, like, kind of crossed the Snake River. And there's an Oregon Trail Museum there now as well, because it's the place where the Oregon Trail enters the state of Oregon. It is by no means the end of the Oregon Trail, because that's Portland, as anyone who has played the Oregon Trail video game knows. But yeah, anyway, that's the seat for the Baker Diocese is in Baker.
Cool.
That's where the bishop is. The bishop at the time was Thomas. Anyway, I'll have some stories about Thomas later. And This camp was super chill, and the whole thing was about self-discovery and just being yourself and just kind of discovering who you are and being expressive and creative and having a good time and not having to worry about whatever kind of bullshit was happening with your family back home.
So just like a real cool summer camp with religious overtones.
Exactly. And I mean, we definitely had mass, you know, and like there was some God stuff, but it wasn't really being crammed down our throats, and there was like a big dance, and like we got freaky and dirty danced and made out and stuff, you know, like, and they didn't care. Right on. So, you know, it was a lot of fun.
Okay, now...
and this is why I got into youth group.
Okay, I have one more question.
Okay.
And I feel like since this is kind of our... Catholicism has been beat around the bush on this podcast before, but I have to just like clear a few things up. So, were your parents Catholic?
This is a good question. My parents actually raised me as hippie agnostics for the first, I don't know, like 8-9 years of my life.
Okay.
And then my dad started getting pretty into the building business in Bend, and kind of realized that one way to get deeper into the community and establish better connections and do some networking was to join a church.
I mean, he's not wrong.
And he, as a young man, had been an altar boy, and you know had gone.
Okay,
to
so
Catholic
he
mass.
was raised Catholic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Raised Catholic is a bit much, but you know had been to some masses and had been an altar boy for a time. You know, like his family kind of had a come and go relationship with the Catholic Church, but you know, like, yeah, dad knew some shit about Catholicism, but that was pretty much his only exposure to church, as far as I know. So,
and your mom?
Mom's family was definitely not religious.
Yeah.
Grandpa was from Canada.
Like loose Christian, if anything.
Yeah, Grandpa didn't really have a whole lot of time for religion.
All right.
He was a psychiatrist and staunch humanist.
Whoa,
and,
right on.
Oh man, we should talk about Grandpa sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Grandpa's an interesting dude.
Cool.
But yeah, Mom did not come from a religious background. Dad really wasn't religious, but had done some time in church.
Yeah, and then decided to dive back in.
Right,
for business.
Because you know he already kind of knew some of like the stand, sit, kneel kind of shit, and so yeah, and honestly, they could have made a lot worse choice. Like the St. Francis of Assisi Church in Bend was a pretty unique gathering of Catholics. I mean, like you had your stodgy fucks like any fucking church, but there was also a lot of freaks and weirdos who were tolerated in there. Like, you know, the Catholic Church had a pretty anti-gay stance, and there was an openly gay man in the church choir who had AIDS, which was also a fairly demonized thing at the time.
Yeah, I mean, back in the early 90s?
Yeah, and he was open about it, and like, you know, it was cool. Huh. And that was pretty and progressive at the time.
I was going to say, yeah. Now, was it only cool because your bishop was cool with it? Like
that, and because our church had these Dominican priests who were fucking chill.
Because I'm pretty sure
that Dominicans or Franciscans. I think they were Dominicans. I keep getting this confused because it's the St. Francis of Assisi Church. Okay. But I'm pretty sure they were Dominicans. They were the ones who wear the Jedi robes, the brown robes with the hoods and the ropes around their waists. Okay. Which I was really into.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, so that's interesting because, I mean, I feel like back then the Catholic Church had not made the strides that it has today, and really wouldn't have been cool with that.
Right.
But I guess if they let their regional coordinator say that it's cool, like,
yeah.
You know.
Thomas was chill, and in fact, like, I should mostly save the Thomas stories for the fucking White Branch tales, but like, suffice it to say, he was definitely not like so full of himself that he couldn't take a joke. Yeah. And that was pretty uncommon for bishops. And the priests at our church I think I've already talked about Father Brian being the fucking jockey priest who could break somebody. Oh yeah, I talked about showering with Father Brian.
Yeah, totally.
And then there was Father Donald who just liked to talk about love and not much else.
Damn, so you just really lucked out.
Yeah, I mean, there was also some weirdos who, they pretty much never let fucking give sermons or whatever because they were probably fucking sketchy dudes who were just being housed in this small town for a little while because of scandals, and then they got fucking rotated out, But,
yeah.
they kept that shit pretty well under wraps, and then the priests who were fucking cool were, the guys who were the front men who fucking, were really actually kind of helping the community a little bit. And so, like I said, we had a fairly unique Catholic community in that there wasn't a whole lot of shady shit happening, and there was actually some good shit coming out of people coming together for religion. So, like I said, my folks could have chosen a lot worse because there were some really shitty fucking fringe Christian, culty kind of churches around,
Oh, so, I bet.
Man, I feel lucky that that's the one that they chose. But by the same token, when we got into it, I was in the 4th grade, and they told me that all I had to do was get baptized, and that was it. And I swear to God, they told me that I wouldn't have to go to church. So I go through this whole baptism process. I want to say it took 6 months, something like that. I had to go to all these meetings and hang out with Sister Mary in the little fucking house across the street from the church and do all these Bible readings and talk about God and Jesus and the history of the church and stuff. And then finally, it comes around to time to be baptized, and they ask me if I reject Satan and all his works, and I knew in my mind that I was lying when I said no.
So you never really bought into any of it. You're just I'm just going along with this.
Yeah, I kind of knew it was all pageantry, even though I was young. I was just I can tell that these people are all kind of mostly lying to each other, so I'm just going to play along because I know that's what everyone wants me to do.
Right, because you're it'll be easier if I just go along with this.
Right, and I mean, I asked some fairly pointed questions at different times about, this, that, and the other, but, I kind of knew that heaven and hell were bullshit, and that,
Right.
I didn't believe in a devil or anything like that,
Right.
And, my mom had told me a long time ago, and this is actually an important point that I might have brought up at some time in the past when we were talking about God, but I asked my mom who God was when I was, 5 years old. And she got really worried, and she told me that God is whoever I want him to be. And that there's people who believe in God, but not everyone does. And it's really up to you what you think God is.
Well, that's nice.
It's one of the coolest things that my mom ever told me. And, she said that you don't have to believe in God, but if you feel like it's doing something good for you, then that's okay. And
wow,
can't imagine a better thing for a parent to tell their kid about God.
Yeah, what a great stance.
Right. And so, when we started doing this whole church thing, it really felt like I was getting pushed into something that was bullshit. And I'm well, you already told me it's whatever I want it to be, so...
Sure, so just roll with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're a kid, so you're just if it means social functions or whatever,
right.
I'm, I guess I'm in.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
And I kind of enjoyed some of it because we would go to these things little dances at the parish center or whatever, and there were other kids and they seemed cool, so I'm just
right.
Yeah, whatever, this is just kind of another school sort of, which was also kind of bullshit because I already hated school, but whatever.
Yeah,
I can put up with it.
Yeah, and, yeah, totally.
So
you put up with a lot as a kid because you're just all right, fine.
Right.
Well, it's always weighing. Man, this is what kids are great at: is weighing their odds, or weighing. It's I either retaliate against this, or I either kind of rebel against this and suffer the consequences of whatever my parents put down, or just sort of go with it and make the best of it. And you always kind of weigh that. And a lot of the times you just go with it. You're well, fuck it, dude.
Yeah.
This is better than being around my parents at all, A.
Right.
And, going against them, because then that's even worse. So.
Oh, God, seriously. Well, and I was at least sophisticated enough at that time to know that, there was probably going to be some way for me to fuck off and not give a shit about it at some point, you know.
Well, and you do know that because you're going to hang out with other kids your age who also feel the way you do. You know?
Exactly. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this will be like any other fucking thing where it's like, whatever. But anyway, so
okay, cool.
I get through the whole fucking process of hanging out with Sister Mary and getting baptized. And then, you know, this one fucking just blissful Sunday morning, I'm laying there in bed and I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna roll back over, drift back off to sleep, and knock, 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 get up, we're going to church. Excuse me? We're going to church, get dressed. And I'm like, yeah, right. Mister, you need to get out of bed right now. And I'm like, you told me that if I did this whole baptism thing that I didn't have to go to church. And that's about as far as I'm willing to go. We never told you that.
Oh, no.
Oh, well, no, because that was the whole reason that I did this, is you said I wouldn't have to go to church. Oh, no. The whole reason that we did this was so that you would go to church every Sunday.
Fuck. In fact, the opposite.
You motherfuckers! God damn it! Like, this was the whole reason I didn't want to do this!
Right.
My fucking Sunday mornings are gone.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't remember exactly which morning mass we settled on as a family. Like, 7 o'clock seems very egregious. But I want to say that we settled on, like, 9 o'clock mass, which meant that I was getting rousted.
Do they even do 9 o'clock mass? I didn't even
Sunday.
think that was a thing.
Oh, no, our church did, like, hourly masses in the morning. No, maybe not. I want to say there was 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and 11 o'clock.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I remember, I think the one time I got dragged to mass, and they probably lied to me, because I was like, is there not a later one? Like, our Christian church does, like, 11 o'clock sermon, and it's like, they dragged us to fucking, like, 7 o'clock mass.
Well, it was...
And it's like 3 hours long, man. Or at least the one I went to.
Oh, hell no. This is Catholic mass, dude.
Yeah, I went to a Catholic mass.
Oh, Jesus Christ, 3 hours? No, dude. We're talking open and shut hour, dude. Like, end to end.
Man, you really got fucking the cool end of the Catholic fucking...
Dude, sometimes...
I don't know, man.
Sometimes maybe an hour and 10, like, hour and 20 was fucking pushing it. And, like, that meant that either Father Brian was drunk... or Father Donald really had something he needed to fucking say. You know, like, this expression of love needed to be fully understood in all of its ramifications and Corinthians, blah, blah, blah. Dude loved his Corinthians. But, I'm just saying, like,
oh man,
there was rarely fucking 3 hours. Hell no, that's like Christmas mass, like, or Easter mass. Those were 3 hours, but
maybe
like,
it was an Easter or Christmas. I know I only ever went once, and and told my parents I was like, I'm never doing that again.
Because there's specific masses for different like observations, like, you know, saints' birth days and I don't fucking know, but like there's specific masses that are like longer celebrations. Like, dude, they'll read like the whole fucking lineage and
dude,
like, you know, like
whatever I went to
Job
was one of
begat
those.
Fucking Abel and like I don't fucking know.
Oh man,
you know, Job did not begat Abel. Just for clarity, but
I mean, you know. Whatever.
Yeah. But, yeah, I'm just saying, like, they do all the begats at Christmas Mass and maybe at Easter Mass, too. And it's, oh, man, like, if you don't know how to sleep with your eyes open, then, like, God help you.
I mean, I fucking learned that day, that's for sure.
Right. It's rude. But, yeah, so Catholic Mass, you know, for the most part on Sunday, it's an hour. But just, you know, having to wake up to, like, not just your natural wake-up time on a weekend when you're a kid is a real kick in the nuts, because at that point you can still sleep as long as you fucking want to. You know, you haven't been ruined by this daily work schedule. Like, you know, you still get to reset all of your circadian rhythms in the summertime, and like, fucking god damn it, it was just so brutal to me, and I've never forgiven them for it. But that said, you know, after like many years of going to fucking shitty morning mass on Sundays, my parents eventually got sick of dealing with my dumb ass, and I got to go to what was called the youth mass, which was at 6 p.m. on Sundays.
Oh.
And that changed a lot of things for me. But that wasn't until after I'd gone to Camp White Branch in the summer and like actually started getting involved with the youth group, and they were just kind of like, well, okay, you're obviously invested, so like whatever. And at that point they were also just kind of like, oh, I mean, how much are we really getting out of this fucking thing anyway? You know, like,
yeah.
My dad had made whatever fucking business contacts that he could at that point. And my mom had kind of had like a spiritual conversion and like all this stuff, but I don't think my dad really ever got too much out of it.
Yeah.
So anyway, my point is that in 93, you know, I'd been involved with the youth group for a while. I'd been doing youth council, which was where, you know, we all people from different towns in the Baker Diocese, we get together in one of the towns and like plan some events for youth to go to. Like we had Day of the Sun and like different other little things, and our whole goal was to subvert these things into being different just ways for kids to get together and have a good time and not have to talk about God.
Yeah, of course.
And so, like, we had one that was Monty Python themed and
nice.
All this other shit. Anyway, like, I'm definitely getting off topic here.
This is good. I want some of this backstory, though.
All right, cool. But, I mean, like, all of this shit actually happens after this. So, like...
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, we did some cool shit. But
okay. All this... These youth camp things happen after.
Well, so I've been going to youth camp,
here.
But like the real like youth group, like youth council stuff, definitely happens after this. So I'm in.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm in high school. It's in between my freshman and sophomore year. Like I've been liminally involved with maybe some youth council at this point, but we haven't really gotten off our nuts yet. In fact, we've just gone to our first Day of the Sun, which is like this high school youth group thing just for high school kids, where it's a whole weekend and you camp out in this high school, and like, oh man, the vandalism that occurs in those high schools is pretty off the charts.
Oh, I bet.
And you know, like it's just kind of like a fucking makeout festival for kids from different towns to hook up with each other, you know, and like maybe get to third base in a fucking closet somewhere, you know.
So I won't dive into my religious stuff because that's a whole episode that I'll do. But I definitely remember that, man. It was just like all the youth group get-togethers from my church were just like fucking sexual tension, just mounted to the fucking extremes, man.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So I can
the hormones were just raging.
Oh, right, just raging hormones, and you've got all this like limitation and restriction because of the God thing, and then it's just like, oh man, and just kids ready to cause mischief and just rearing to fucking go, dude.
Exactly, and you know, with the whole Catholic like, no one really gives a shit as long as you say you're sorry thing. Like,
yeah, totally right.
we were ready to just do whatever, and so we find out about this World Youth Day in Denver, and our youth group sets up this charity bike ride that they're calling the Pope Cycle. I know, right?
Okay.
And so, oh god, Paul, our youth minister, like fucking love that guy. He's also a graphic designer. So like, he set up this T-shirt with Pope John Paul and like some mountains and a bike, and it was just fucking tight. Like, you know, Pope John Paul's just kind of peeking out of the mountains like he's part of Rushmore or something.
What?
It's fucking wonderful.
Do you still have this shirt?
I believe I do, yeah.
Dude.
If I can find it, I'll
take
a picture of it for the show notes.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and I still have a bunch of old Catholic shit. Anyway,
okay, so sorry. So we've already given this away. So you're going to Denver.
Yeah.
Because the Pope is coming to Denver.
Exactly, yeah. And so this is the charity bike ride that we're doing to raise money for it.
Okay, so there's all this other stuff surrounding it.
Right.
Why do you need to raise money for the Pope to come to Denver?
It's because we're gonna go to Denver.
Oh, you're raising money for you to go to Denver.
Yeah.
Look, I was thinking like the weird Catholicism thing, like you're raising money for the Pope to come to Denver.
Oh, no.
It's like, why the fuck does he need money?
Well, you're right, because he doesn't. Like,
no.
Pope can go wherever he wants.
But I wouldn't doubt for a second they'd be like, you need to raise some money to get him to come here.
No, that's not what it's about.
Yeah,
okay. I mean, other religions certainly, but like, Catholics know how rich the Pope is. Like, they can't hide that shit.
And I guess, like, all if it weren't obvious, I'll just fully disclose that I know so little about Catholicism. I mean, I grew up, like, in Christian churches and stuff, and I've been to Italy, and so I've seen the stuff, but I don't know how it works.
Have you been to the Vatican?
I have.
It's its own country.
It's fucking
It's not
wild.
even Italy.
No, I know. It's fucking wild, dude.
Yeah. I mean, fucking, you want to talk about tax exempt status? Jesus,
dude, right? Yeah.
But yeah, so we get set up for this bike ride, and it's an 80-mile bike ride. There's a 40-mile leg and another 40-mile leg, and we're riding from the parking lot at the base of Mount Bachelor down to a reservoir that whose name escapes me at this point, but I mean, it's a reservoir on the Cascade Lakes Highway that's 40 miles south of Mount Bachelor. I'm sure you can find it on Google Maps.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I keep wanting to say Lake Billy Chinook, and that's not it. That's up in Madras. But yeah, so we're riding 40 miles to a reservoir, and we're camping out in the campground overnight, and then we're riding another 40 miles back to Sun River. And I think that's on 97. Like, we take the Cascade Lakes loop down around Mount Bachelor, we end up at the reservoir, and then we take 97 all the way back up to Sun River, if memory serves. So if you want to find out what loop we rode on Google Maps, there you go. And mind you, at this time, road bikes were very out of style. Like, everyone just had a mountain bike, even if you only just rode around fucking town on it.
Oh yeah,
blows my mind at, like, having ridden a bike in Portland at this point for a while, like, how none of us fucking rode bikes with anything but giant fucking knobbly tires.
Well, that was the thing in the 90s, man. Everyone wanted a Huffy, like the fucking, like, fat studded out Huffy tires and shit. Like, yeah, dude.
So I'm riding this fucking mountain bike, and like going downhill, fucking awesome.
Fine.
Like, you got all those big gears and you can fucking just shred it. Going uphill was rough.
Oh yeah.
But we did it. We were kids. Like, fuck it. Like, we did 40 miles in a day, no problem.
Yeah.
And we get down to that reservoir that night, and like, lighting up a bunch of fires and fucking roasting weenies and marshmallows and shit, and like fucking grilling hamburgers, and it's a lot of fun. And then, like, around about sunset, me and my buddy Chris are setting up our tent. I think we'd just gotten it all set up. We're just kind of hanging out, and this kid Tom and a couple other dudes come rolling over, and they're like, "Hey man, do you have a lighter?" And at this point in my life, I almost always had a lighter, and I didn't smoke. It was just because sometimes I liked burning things, and I never ever set anything on fire. Let it be known that I never burned anything that wasn't like a pine needle or like a piece of grass or, like some fireworks or some shit like that.
Right.
But like, I knew how to make little fucking gas pockets in my hand and like throw fireballs and like I knew little lighter tricks and stuff.
See, and this is another hilarious mirror of us, because I also was a little pyro.
God damn it!
Absolutely loved burning shit. I loved burning shit. I knew all the little fucking lighter tricks. Did you ever do the fucking butane in the mouth?
Oh yeah, dude.
And just fucking like
I'll blow some fire.
Yeah,
no
totally.
Problem. Yeah, it's easy.
Man,
Flint bombs.
Yep. Oh yeah, I make those all the time.
Yeah,
I still make those.
Of course you do, because it's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. And then,
You know.
yeah, when we do the episode on my dad, we'll get even more into that. But
Fair.
lots of foreshadowing in this episode.
Right? Oh, I know. Like, just setting up so many fucking stories here. So, yeah, so anyway, it was not a bad call that they were asking me for a lighter. Because I definitely had a couple. And I was like, oh, yeah, what do you need it for? And he looks kind of dodgy. And he's like, oh, we're going to go set off some fireworks out in the woods. And I'm like, rad. Let's go. And he looks at the other dudes that he's with, and they look at me, and he's like, oh, well, you probably don't want to go, right? And I start laughing at him. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Of course I want to go set some fucking fireworks off. Why do you think I have a lighter?
Yeah, I'm your guy. I'm your trigger man.
And they kind of shuffle their feet in the dust a little bit, and it's like... Well, all right, dude. We weren't gonna tell you because, like, we didn't know, like, if you're cool with it or not. But, like, we're actually gonna go smoke some weed. And you know, if you don't want to do that, that's cool. Like, we'll just borrow your lighter. And I'm like, no, that's cool. I'll go smoke some weed. I've never smoked weed in my life.
Was this your first time?
Absolutely.
Hell yes.
And you know, I'd smoke some cigarettes. I want to say that I like tried smoking some like herbal shit or like some rose hips or fucking who knows what.
Something.
Like I definitely inhaled smoke that wasn't cigarettes at some point, but like not really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just like, oh, and also my friend Sean. Anyway, at some point on the bus had been like, so you ever fucking smoke weed or what? And like I told him yeah, and he was like, was it shake or bud? And I was like, yeah, man, because I thought he said, was it shake or bud?
Shaker bud.
And I was like, that must be good bud. And so I said yeah, and he was like, no, was it shake or bud? And I'm like, oh, well, which is better? And he was like, bud. And I'm like, oh, it's definitely bud because it was really good. And he's like, okay, man.
Yeah. This dude's never smoked weed.
Right? And he was like, so how did it make you feel? And like at that point I knew I was busted.
Right.
But I figured I'd just fucking roll with it because I knew how to lie enough to like at least make it up. I'm like, oh,
at least get by.
I felt euphoric and like kind of tired and you know like really mellow. And he's like,
or like munchies. Munchies are a thing, right?
I think I forgot that.
Yeah,
but he's just like, okay, dude. And like, you know, was bummed out because I think he wanted to get me high, but
right,
like, you know, knew that I was fucking idiot. And
right.
So anyway, I fucking go off in the woods with these guys, and they got this little fucking wooden pipe that they fucking, I think he just carved it out of a fucking piece of wood, and like it was actually some really nice looking purple kush.
Nice.
And like, we fucking smoked one bowl, and then another bowl, and then another bowl, and I fucking, at some point, volcanoed a fucking bowl out of the pipe by coughing through it.
Right.
And, like, almost started a forest fire, but, like, we managed to put it out, and at that point, they were like, God damn it, dude, that bowl was, like, barely even burned.
Right.
And I was like, oh, whatever, I don't even think I'm high, and, like... We go back, and I get into my tent with my buddy Chris, and he's like, holy shit, dude, you fucking reek. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? He's like, it smells like you've been wrestling with a fucking skunk, dude. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, you are fucking baked out of your mind. And I'm like, dude, I don't even feel high. I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, well, you are acting ridiculous. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And like, we go and we hang out with this girl that he'd kind of been like putting the moves on, and she was kind of nervous at first, but then I started acting high as fuck. And
so this is all after hours?
Yeah.
Like you had gone back to the tent, and then you guys are like, let's go fucking meet up with this girl.
Yeah, we were like hanging out next to a campfire, and like...
Yeah.
She's just kind of giggling at me, and like I didn't realize it at the time. I thought I was acting perfectly normal, and I just start singing Maxwell's Silver Hammer and like just going through my Beatles repertoire, and like she's loving it, and meanwhile Chris is fucking feeling her up and having a fucking great time, and she's into it, so like, you know, whatever.
Yeah, everything's fucking fine.
Yeah, and I think at some point, like, they took a tumble in our tent, like, you know, don't think anything happened past second base, but, you know, like, you know, whatever, it's all in good fun, and eventually I fucking crawl in there and pass out with Chris, and, like, at no point did I feel like I was stoned. I just was having a great time.
Right.
And next day we ride back.
It kind of makes sense, because you're in the woods, man.
Right?
You know, you're already kind of feeling that. I feel like the feeling of being high, or even being too high, is really intensified by being in the city, you know.
Oh, sure.
And like
an artificial lights,
parents,
right,
things you have to worry about. But like, you're in the woods, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're just fucking good, man.
Yeah, just feeling good. And so, you know, the next day we ride back, and we made enough money to like fund our trip. And so, you know, months go by, and then it's summertime, and I've been growing my hair out. I'd gotten my hair cut, like just kind of the Ron Swanson like short haircut that I was getting back then, and like just never cut it after that, and started parting it in the middle. So like just kind of had this shitty mop for a while, and then I had just gotten a bowl cut, like right above my ears, like all the way around, so that it was a center parted fucking floppy mop that was just shaved all the way up to like above my ears.
Oh right, know? yeah, totally.
And I just bought these fucking round like John Lennon shades that were blue lenses.
Yep.
And I had a blue and red Mexican parka. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
And like some blue flannel shorts and some 8-eye fucking Nubuck Doc Martens. And
damn,
yeah, I was all in blue. Like the Docs were blue, shorts were blue, parka blue, shades were blue, and that was my summer fucking look. And we all pile onto these buses, and we fucking head to Fort Collins.
So Fort Collins,
yeah,
which is, you know, for the listener at home, that's my hometown.
For those that didn't know,
yeah, for those,
you know.
For those following along,
for those keeping score,
yeah.
And I mean, like, as if we didn't already need fucking crossover in our weird fucking mirrored lives, like.
So I mean, I'll just interject here. I distinctly remember this event. Living in Fort Collins, I didn't go and.
Why would you
care that much? But I remember like hearing the news of
everything. The
everything.
Pope comes to your state, like you're gonna hear about it.
Well, of course, yeah. And I guess this is what I'm curious about, is everyone is making a big deal about it, but I didn't understand why it was a big deal. So like, does the Pope not? He doesn't really travel that much.
Well, he does, but. This was, and I don't know how often World Youth Day happens. I know that it's happened more than once. You know, it might be every year, but I don't think so. It might be every couple of years, might be every 4 years. I don't know. Even if it is every year, it's always in a different city, and it's global. So,
and the Pope always shows up.
Yes.
Interesting.
And people from all over the world come. It can't be every year. It's got to be once every couple or 4 or 5.
That's what I'm thinking, because I feel like the news of the Pope traveling somewhere is always kind of a bigger headline,
right? And he'll go to like do.
That's the whole thing
things,
with the Popemobile, right? You know?
Oh, and he was definitely in the Popemobile too.
Yeah, and I remember that distinctly, because that was like the big headline. It was like, look at the Pope and his little bulletproof glass fucking
hysterical,
silly ass thing that he's cruising around in. You know,
well, and it's all just because that fucking Pope got shot at like a lot.
Like, whoa, shit. Really?
Oh yeah, John Paul got shot at frequently.
Whoa, really?
And like a little bit of history for those who don't know, John Paul II was a fairly unique pope. Previous to him, I should mention that he convened an event called Vatican II. which was where everyone agreed that Catholicism as it was not working for the masses, and that they were losing people in droves, and they needed to do some updates for the modern era. Previous to Vatican II, Mass, in Mass, the Mass was always in Latin, and the priest faced the altar. So his back was to the church, and he was preaching to the altar in Latin.
Damn.
So, I mean, imagine a more fucking esoteric service, you know? Like, you show up, and here's this guy speaking in a dead language, and he's not interfacing with you at all.
Right.
And you have to know when it's time to stand or sit or kneel, or you just have to, like, kind of fucking follow your neighbors around you, you know? Like,
right.
It was a real shit show, and, like, only the real hardliners were still into it. That said, after Vatican II went down and, like, all this stuff was changed about how priests and nuns worked and, like, how Mass worked, I mean, like, it was a massive overhaul. But after that, the hardliners, the ones who really dug the whole fucking let's just talk in Latin and never look at anyone type deal, they were down to kill that motherfucker because they thought he'd ruined the church.
Really? And this was John Paul
II.
Yeah, John Paul II, who did that. When did he come into...
In the 60s, I want to say.
No shit. So he lasted through the 90s. So, like, 30-year pope.
Yeah, very long reign for a pope, actually.
Okay.
And very charismatic man. Was fluent in 28 languages.
Yeah, I mean, people seem to like fucking John Paul.
He was probably the best liked of modern popes. I mean,
except this new guy, though, right?
Oh, I was going to say,
people love this new guy, right?
Our current dude is pretty hot, but you know he's also got some skeletons in the closet.
They all do, right?
Emerged. I mean, John Paul certainly had his own, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, as far as like shit goes, like the current pope, what is it, Benedict? Is that his name?
Yep. Yeah, probably.
Anyway, like. You could do a lot worse than him. He's certainly like a fucking ray of sunshine. After
well, because there was a guy between John Paul II and Benedict, right? And he was kind of...
He was a Holocaust denier. Like,
yes,
it was,
right.
Like, he was hiding all this shit about fucking molestation. Like, he was a Hitler Youth.
Right.
And that's not even a joke. Like, there's pictures of him in uniform.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they pretty much had to pick this guy after that fucker.
Well, and that's so fucked up, man, because Italy were victims of not the Holocaust, but of World War II. I mean,
they certainly suffered under fascism, yeah.
Yeah, like, man, weird. Okay.
Yeah, well, but you got to understand the Vatican's not actually Italy; it's its own fucking country.
Well,
so.
Look, yeah, it's fine. Okay,
but that said, John Paul. Definitely unique among popes.
Yeah.
You know, did more to change the Catholic Church than like any fucking pope. Going back a long ways. I don't know how far, but
but like probably the biggest reform we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I'm not saying it was as big as like Constantine fucking integrating all the pagan fucking holidays, but like still, it was huge and. There was some backlash, and that's hence the Popemobile. But yeah.
Damn, so just hardline fucking old school Catholics were just like, fuck this guy.
Yeah, and especially in like Latin American countries, because like it's they're just fucking so deep into fucking like
they are.
The blood of fucking Jesus Catholicism, you know.
Right.
They get gory in their fucking imagery down there, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's where you see all the like the bleeding statues and the fucking like
self-flagellation kind of stuff.
Well, and even where is it's in Brazil that there's just that ginormous fucking Jesus statue,
Christ the Redeemer.
Yeah. Just fuck, dude, it's crazy.
Yeah, no doubt. Dude. Like, it gets real down there, and so you know that's why he had to go everywhere armored, but a very benevolent guy. You know,
yeah.
From all reports,
for sure.
Or for most reports. I'm sure he had some skeletons.
But. Yeah. But so back to the thing of like, okay, so he didn't, like, he probably did travel enough, thus the Popemobile, but like he didn't really come to America that often. So
it was infrequent,
So coming to Denver was a big ass deal.
Very big deal.
And people came from all over.
Right.
Like,
and I mean,
all over the globe.
Yeah. And it was a big enough deal that our youth group was like, our church by no means has enough funds. Our diocese by no means has enough funds to just like send us all there. So we're going to have to raise some fucking money. And so, I wrote letters to my relatives.
And the bike ride and everything.
Well, yeah. And so the whole bike ride was like, you got people to pledge a certain amount per mile.
Yep.
And we knew it was going to be 80 miles. So,
Right.
And we definitely rode the whole thing. So, I mean, there's no school budget involved there. Yeah. But yeah, so we end up in Fort Collins, and I don't remember the name of the high school. I want to say it was Fort Collins High School, but I have no fucking idea.
What did the building look like?
I want to say red bricks.
So I think it was the old Fort Collins High School, because the new one wouldn't have been built by the time you were there.
For sure. I want to say it was the only one.
Yeah.
And there was another youth group that was sharing the building with us. And they were Canadians. I mentioned this when I talked about showering with Father Brian, that we were sharing this high school with Canadians, and so we had to shower in shifts.
That's right.
It was bizarre.
Yeah.
And the Canadians always wore their swimsuits in the shower because they didn't want to be naked in front of each other. But, we were like, fuck it. Locker room rules. Like,
yeah.
We're men. We can be naked in front of each other, unless Father Brian hops in, and then everyone just runs away.
I mean, also, like, who knows if those Canadian kids already were like worried about. Again,
shit!
You lived in a fucking.
Oh shit! Right, we were in this idyllic fucking Catholic church where like no one was afraid of anything.
Right,
you
fucking had the fucking best of all worlds.
It's true. Like
those kids might have had a fucking rough time in there.
Yeah. I gotta admit, my fucking
Catholic,
my
situation,
my St. Francis privilege, like fucking, we had some like real folks up in there who weren't just trying to do some weird shit with kids,
Right.
So yeah.
Well, anyhow,
maybe that Canadian church was fucked.
That's speculation, but
yeah, it's something I'd never thought about before. But you could be right. And, like, who knows, like, what we did to them just being a bunch of naked dudes when they tried to charge in wearing their swim trunks, Like, oh, God. Okay. Nope. Everyone out. Gotta wait for these guys to finish. There's a naked priest in here, too. I just... liability issues alone.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so, the details of, like, each specific day leading up to Cherry Creek Park are a little fuzzy. I'm not sure exactly how long we were there. I want to say it wasn't more than like 3 days.
In Fort Collins.
Yeah, I want to say it was just a weekend, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
It could have been an entire week, but I really fucking doubt it.
Yeah, it was probably just a couple days.
Yeah, I want to say that, like, we got there like Thursday night and like camped out in the high school, and then we went into Denver on Friday, and like there was shit set up all over town.
That's wild too. So that means you camped out in Fort Collins because Denver was just packed.
Oh
right?
Yeah, no, I should mention this because we tried to get lodging in Denver.
Yeah,
but it was
wasn't
impossible.
Happening. Yeah, wasn't happening.
A high school in Fort Collins was the best that we could do.
I feel like I even vaguely remember Fort Collins being extra packed that weekend. That there was just people everywhere.
Right. And I mean, like, I want to say that they tried to, like, book hotels and stuff, and it just wasn't possible. So, like...
Oh, yeah. No, it surely wasn't.
Like, they found out, through the, like, Catholic network that, like, people are, like, tapping high schools and, like, they're just going to sleep on the floor in a high school because there's just no fucking lodging. And, we were like, okay, well, cool. That's probably going to be cheaper than a hotel anyway. We love you, Winnie.
Yeah, Winnie's getting fed, so don't mind it.
Good Lord, she loves Catholics too. Anyway, so yeah, like we go into Denver, and like I said, this might have been 1 day, it might have been 2 days. We are just hanging out downtown, and there's these huge pavilions set up, like just to feed people. Like McDonald's has these just outdoor grills and like weird little like prep service areas.
Whoa.
And they're serving shit that isn't even on the McDonald's menu. Like they've got kielbasa's and like bratwurst and like...
Well, right, because, they're just like grilling.
Yeah, and I mean, like, fucking probably just like sourced product from wherever the fuck they could, probably Cisco and FSA and like.
Well, that's the crazy thing.
All that other shit because
they had to employ these like big conglomerate companies to be like, hey, will you just come serve food?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we just need food. I don't care how you figure it out.
Well, and like the infrastructure of Denver was not enough to support these hundreds of thousands of people.
No, and especially then, man. So Denver's changed a lot from the like mid 90s to even the late 2000s to where we're at now.
Absolutely.
I mean, Denver used to be a shithole, man. Back in the 90s, dude, Denver was not cool, man. There wasn't anything cool.
Yeah.
There was Elitch's, and then they finally built fucking Coors Field so you could go see a baseball game, and we had a baseball team. And then it's like, that was it, man. Denver sucked, dude. And then it got cool. Like, and it's a pretty cool place now, but...
It was fucking weird. Like, my buddy Tim saw a dead guy in a flower bed, like, fucking...
Wait. You can't just breeze over that. A dead guy?
Yeah, he saw a man whose skin was blue in a flower bed, and he told his mom, and she was like, let's just keep going.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and like, I'm over the years, I've told that story, and I conflated it into my own memory, like, I saw a dead guy. And so, like, to this day, I'm pretty sure that, like, I've never seen a dead body because I'm pretty sure that was my only I've seen a dead body story. But, like, yeah, it was definitely my buddy Tim who saw a dead guy in a flower bed.
Damn.
And, like, told his mom, maybe even told a priest or something, but, like, they were like, we just got to keep moving. Like, we're just this small youth group. Like, let's just fucking get down to wherever we're supposed to go. It was fucking insane, dude. There was hundreds of thousands of people.
Wait, yeah. So take me to the beginning. So you roll in.
All right, so we roll in, and, like, we're in downtown Denver, and it's fucking just middle of summer. It's hot as fuck, like...
Right, it was middle of summer.
Yeah, and we're like, splashing around in the fountain in the middle of fucking downtown, and, like, you know, like I said, there's all these pavilions and stuff set up that aren't normally there, and, like...
Right.
Just weird shit everywhere, and we're just kind of exploring.
Because it was the Cherry Creek Mall?
No, so Cherry Creek Park doesn't happen until Saturday.
Oh, okay.
This is Friday.
Oh.
And we're just fucking...
And so there's just people.
We're just charging around in Denver. Just fucking...
But there's people everywhere.
Oh, yeah, because everyone got there early because, like, they had to.
Right.
You know? And just to fucking...
Were there people, like, camping out?
Not yet. Like, everyone had a place, you know, and that's why all the lodgings were taken up, you know? But then, you know, so we're charging around Denver, like... We fucking do all this stuff. And like I said, this might have been one day, this might have been two, but no, in fact, this was one day. And then we go back to the fucking high school. We fucking sleep there that night. We get up in the morning. We shower with the Canadians. We fucking go into Denver. And then, you know, we're cruising around Denver like the day before. But then, like, we all have to go to Cherry Creek Park. And... we get on the buses, and the buses take us down to the drop-off point, and we all, like, go into Cherry Creek Park, and it's, like, the late afternoon, and they have this plan for this enormous fucking stage, right? Like, this huge stage with hundreds of thousands of people in front of it.
Right. I remember seeing the pictures, man.
Right, and they have this plan... that, like, it's all divided up into sections, this crowd, and everyone's gonna camp in Cherry Creek Park that night.
Oh, right.
So that, and like, there's gonna be this big thing on stage that night, like this big fucking party, right? And then in the morning, we're all gonna have mass together. And that's the plan, right?
And it's like 1 million fucking people, right?
It's minimum 300,000. I don't remember how many. Like, it could have been 500,000.
I bet it
could have been 1 million.
I think it was like a shit ton.
It was. It really was. And I, you know, like, we should definitely, like, post the numbers in the show notes. But, like, it was a truly massive crowd. And I've been to rainbow gatherings. I've been to Burning Man. I've seen, you know, 50,000 people all in one spot.
Yeah, and I've been to some music festivals. I've seen
But
50, 100,000 people
that
in
was
one spot.
nothing compared to this. Like, this
Right.
was just a seething mass of fucking humanity.
So maybe a million's a long shot, but I bet it was
It's-
like a quarter
yeah,
million, dude.
like-
Because I remember it being just unreal.
Like I said, it was easily 300,000.
okay, yeah. Fuck,
but-
dude, that's so crazy.
And who knows? Maybe I'm fucking that number up.
Oh,
too,
look,
but like,
we'll figure it out.
yeah, but like I said, it was a huge crowd, and they had planned for this crowd to break up in sections and move off into another area to camp. But as this show on the stage progresses into nighttime, word filters out through the crowd that there just isn't enough room in the camping area, and that people have already moved into it, and that it is full. And so here we are with all this fucking gear, like sleeping bags and packs and stuff. And like, you know, not every, I don't think many of us had tents. I think like the plan was basically just to like
It's the
sleep
middle
under
of
the
summer.
stars.
You're
Yeah,
fine.
exactly.
Yeah.
There's no fucking rain. I mean, like, what the fuck good is a tent anyway? So
Yeah.
like, we all just kind of had sleeping bags and packs. But as I'm sure you understand, a person standing on their feet takes up much less ground space than someone who is laying down.
Yep.
And so this crowd that's all just kind of shoulder to shoulder in front of the stage now has to figure out how they're going to camp out, because they have nowhere to go, because the camping area is full, because everybody already filled it in.
Shit.
And so we're just all kind of looking around going, oh fuck, what do we do? And this woman from another group comes over and starts trying to assess who's the leader of our group, and just kind of starts talking to a couple of the other adults and just saying, your group needs to start moving back, because we're about to start camping out here.
Oh.
And we need more space. So we need you to start moving back right now. And, you know, there's some hemming and hawing, and like, you know, maybe one adult like kind of comes back and starts spreading the word among the group that we might need to move. And then my mother.
Who's with you?
Yes, my mother was one of the drivers for this trip. It was me and my sister and my mom. And I want to say Zach and Sarah came too, but I'm not entirely certain. It was definitely me, Rachel, and my mom. And I'm pretty sure my other siblings were there too. Like 90% sure. Anyway, so my mom just gets this look on her face, and like her jaw is set and her eyes are looking steely, and she just starts stalking over towards this woman like a fucking lioness. And I'm like, what's going on? And like my buddy Chris, who I'm hanging out with, just sees my mom making a beeline, and he's like, oh shit, dude, your mom's about to go be a boss bitch right now. And like, I don't even remember what she said. I don't even know if we could hear what she said. But like, her manner and her gestures were so decisive and so imperious that they left no room for argument. And it was pretty clear that woman was going to get nowhere with our group after about 30 seconds talking to my mom.
Oh, so your group was not going to back off.
Not even slightly. And in fact, after that exchange, my mother came back and said, everyone, if you want to find a place to camp, now's the time to do it.
Like, lay out.
Yep.
Fucking stake some claim.
Like, everyone's like, and dude, my mom's been to some fucking weird hippie fucking gatherings. Like, she knows when mob mentality is starting to shift.
Yeah.
And like, she was like, nope, now's the time to stake our claim, and we're not giving an inch to these fuckers.
Get on top of this.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, like, we all just started spreading out bags, and like this show was still going on up on the stage, you know.
And you're like right next to the stage?
We're like,
or like close?
So the way that I described it to my friends later is we got close enough for the Pope to sweat on us. But, you know, we were really still at least like 50 feet away from the stage, you know.
Fuck, that's fucking close,
But
though.
we were close in.
That's really close.
And the thing is, we were just penned in. Like, we had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Like, there was humans on all sides.
Yeah.
So
and that's
like,
the scary thing.
Yeah, it was like either we get squeezed into a space where we can't sleep, or we take advantage of the fact that we still have some slack around us right now, and we don't give an inch. You know?
Right.
And that's what we did, and like definitely had to do a little bit of snuggling, but like we all found room to just lay down and watch the rest of the show in our fucking bags, and eventually passed out. And the show that night, you know, the Pope was there, and at some point...
Wait, was he? Like...
Yeah.
The Pope did the late night set?
Yeah. And so the Pope was there, and at some point he fell asleep while all of these people from around the world were giving these presentations that were just basically like thanking him.
Okay.
You know?
Oh, so he's just sitting up there
Yeah, he's
while
just
these
sitting
other
in his
people
fancy chair, like looking prayerful.
Yeah.
You know, at some point he kind of puts his head on a hand, and his face kind of slumps down.
Well, he's jet lagged, you know?
Exactly. And so my buddy Tim, who's seen a dead man previously, turns to his mother, who ignored the dead man, and said, "Mom, the Pope's asleep." And she says, "No, Tim. He's just in constant prayer." I'll never forget that.
Yep.
And so, the Pope was praying for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Real constant
just
prayer.
real deep. He might have dropped a deuce in his draws. He was praying so hard. His face got real fucking sour belly after a certain point. But, you know, he's an old fucking man. Like, he can poop his pants if he wants to. He can fall asleep. Like, who cares? So, you know, that was the evening presentation. It was basically everyone from around the world being like, "You rock, we love you, thanks for showing up."
So they drag this dude up on stage, fucking everyone praises him, and
it's like in a rainbow of different languages, you know, like no one in the crowd even knows what's going on.
But then the next day is the main attraction.
Yeah, so
that's when he gets up and talks.
Right. So then we wake up in the dirt in Cherry Creek Park.
Yup.
In the middle of the fucking summer.
Yep.
With all these fucking weird little cacti and shit.
It's fucking 98 degrees or whatever.
Oh, it was 90, like, 10 minutes after the fucking sun came up.
Yeah.
You know? And everyone's like, "Oh, this sleeping bag is gross. Like, get it off me."
That high altitude sun.
Yeah.
Love
and
it.
so we're all, like, instantly dehydrated.
Yeah.
And along with their poor planning for where people are going to sleep, the planning for bathroom facilities is poor, to say the least, and hydration is like an almost non-existent concern. Like, there's a couple of fucking stations that they've set up with faucets, but the lines for them are like hundreds of people long, and there's people who are starting to collapse from heat exhaustion and dehydration.
And this is what I remember the most about this, was hearing about all the people that fucking like got wrecked by heat exhaustion.
Yeah. And so, like, me and my buddy Chris, we get up and we both had these big Earth 2O bottles that were like, I don't know, like a liter and a half, something like that. Good sized bottles. And like, we'd almost drained them, you know, after 20, 30 minutes of being awake. And
and how long is this presentation? How long are you expected to be there?
Most of the morning into the afternoon.
Pretty much all day, right?
Yeah, like there's a morning mass, and then there's all these ceremonies and blessings and shit. And like, I don't remember what the meal plan was, but it was like pretty fucking sketchy. It was like sandwiches and Ziploc bags and shit. Like, it was gnarly. And so, like, me and Chris, like, we drain our water down to like maybe an inch or two left in our bottles, and we realize that this is urgent. Like, the fact that we still have water means nothing, because we still have to wait a long time even after we get to the water source. So like, we get in line for water, and our bottles...
Plus traversing the crowd.
Exactly.
Which I'm sure was a task
took a long time
in and of itself.
Just to get over to the faucet. The only way you could tell where it was because of this fucking tight packed line around it. And so, like, we ford through the crowd, and we get in line, and our bottles are killed well before we get up there, and we're feeling it. You know, like, by the time we get up there, it's like I'm taking a quick drink off the spigot before I fill my bottle, because I'm that fucking thirsty. You know? And like, people behind me are a little pissed that I'm not like getting it done faster. And so, like, fill up the bottles, head
tensions
back.
rising.
Right? And, like, we actually, like, there was a couple of people when we got back who were like, oh, man, can I get some of your water? And we kind of look at each other. We're like, yeah, man, hit it. But do you have a water bottle? Yeah, it's empty. Go get in line right now.
Right.
And they're like, well, can't I just have some of yours?
No.
No, you absolutely can't have some of mine.
But, like,
but
also...
after you get a good drink, I want you to go get your ass in line right now.
Yeah.
Because you're in bad shape as it stands.
Yeah, like, we all need to do that. We all need to rotate.
Right. And so we start spreading this
bottles.
We start spreading this awareness, just like, guys, if you have less than half a bottle of water, go get your ass in line.
Right. Shit is real.
And, like, people are, like, a couple of people are like, whatever. And we're like, no, God damn it. Go get in line. And, later people were like, yeah, you were right, blah, blah, blah. But fucking, we each, gave out some water, hung out for a little while, got down to about half a bottle. And we were like, I mean, we should probably go, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and so that's what we started doing, is just like, as soon as we were down to half a bottle of water, we'd go get in line, and we were basically done by the time we got up to the water faucet.
Yep.
And so we just keep doing this cycle, and I think at some point we got some shitty sandwiches, and, like, the Pope gave mass, and, like, people were giving presentations, and at some point enough people had collapsed that it was becoming a medical emergency. And they start driving these fire trucks through the crowd and spraying these hoses.
Fuck, man.
Just to, like, give people some relief from the heat.
Fuck.
It was intense.
That is intense. Oh, man.
Like,
did that work?
No, I mean, they were like backing these army trucks that were, like, full of water up, and, like, like, running these fucking hoses out of them with spigots on it, and, like, it was helping. But after a certain point, they just called it. They were like, all right, thanks everybody, like, let's get everybody out of here, like.
Yeah, so, like, the people on stage are like, all right, and we're done.
Yeah.
And the Pope's leaving the building.
Pope's fucking getting wheeled out of here, like, this is becoming,
I mean, like,
debacle,
good, right? Like, man.
Yeah. And it doesn't end there. So, like,
no, I'm sure it doesn't.
Fucking,
because now you have to shuffle a 250,000 people, as we assume, or more, out of this fucking,
like, hundreds of thousands of heat-stroked people,
right,
who've been here for 24 hours, and not everyone's got the best judgment. No one's from there,
right.
And so, like, everyone's just kind of trying to filter out through all these different exits, and, like, people are getting turned around. We ended up hiking for miles.
Oh, I bet.
With all this fucking gear, limited water, not much food, and, like, fucking some of these idiots didn't fill up their water bottles before we left. And so, we're walking out on these fucking, like, highway access roads, and we actually get up onto the freeway, and we're walking along the fucking shoulder.
Damn.
And, like, some group of Catholics, like, pulls over in a van. They're like, hey, can we help you guys get where you're going? And we're, like, looking around, like, can we trust these guys? And so, like, some of the folks who were more heat stroked, who, like, couldn't really carry their gear, like, got on the van, and I think an adult went with them.
How big was your party?
It was, oh man, at least 50 people.
Fuck, no way.
Yeah, and we got split up.
Just from your youth group was 50?
Yeah, I mean, including all the adults and everything.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, maybe it was less than that. I want to say we all fit on one bus.
I mean, even still, like,
maybe it was two, but, like,
yeah, that's still a lot of people to keep track of.
And so, some of the people went on the van. Like, one of the people was my sister, and maybe my mom. I don't remember, but definitely my sister. I think my mom actually stayed with us, and some other folks got on the van, and, like, we just kept walking, and eventually we met up with our bus somewhere and got hauled back to this staging area, and or maybe we just walked there. I honestly can't remember. I ended up getting pretty badly heat stroked.
I bet you were. Yeah.
And I ended up carrying a bunch of other people's gear just because I'd packed some water with me, and I was like, you haven't had water in a long time. Let me just carry your sleeping bag. So I, like, had sleeping bags strapped to my arms as well as my own pack
hell.
with someone else's sleeping bag strapped to it. And, like, I remember, like, we got back to the staging area and I saw that I was with my people, and I just kind of put my arms out in front of me with the sleeping bags on them, just kind of fucking collapsed.
Yeah.
And just, like, laid there on top of the sleeping bags for a while, just kind of not doing anything. And my youth minister, Mary, came over and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Huh?" And she's like, "Dude, you need some water." And, like, brought me a water bottle and, like, got me hydrated again. And then we started really freaking out about my sister because she still wasn't back. And, like, no one knew who these people were, like, or how they were going to get to us.
Boy.
You know, and, like, thankfully, eventually they just showed up. And, like, you know, it was just really tearful reunion and stuff. But, like,
Yeah.
holy fucking shit, what a debacle, you know? Like,
dude,
such a lack of planning and, like, orchestration and holy fucking shit.
I feel like there's no actual amount of planning to account for that, though.
Oh, that, I mean, like, you're not wrong.
You're talking about, like, bringing somebody. It's like, I mean, fuck, dude. You ever see pictures of, like, Mecca and stuff?
Yeah.
And it's just like these little fucking prop tents that people get into, but it's like it just gets so crazy there.
Yeah.
You're just talking about packing so many people into one location. Like, yeah, I mean, even just music festivals I've gone to.
Right.
I've experienced this lack of water thing, this lack of ability to get out of the area thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I can't even imagine, like, a Pope visit in Denver, which is just not set up for it at all.
Not even close.
Like, Denver's the worst place for the Pope to visit.
Well, and it's high altitude, which a lot of people aren't used to.
So
it's a desert.
That's the fucking real clincher, is the high altitude thing. It always fucking catches everyone off guard, man.
Yep.
Even bands that go and play, like, you know, I mean, I lived in Colorado for, like, most of my youth, and I would go see bands, and they would suck. Or they would mention it, you know?
Yep.
I even, like, saw the Flaming Lips once, where Wayne was just like, "Man, I can't believe you guys in Colorado." And he's like, he was making fun of us too, or, like, kind of ribbing us. He's like, "You guys, you just smoke cigarettes and, like, go hiking and then, like, smoke more cigarettes." And he's like, "And I'm up here just trying to, like, do a show and, like, can barely fucking hang, you know?" And, like, and that always stuck with me. And even when I moved out here and, like, was here for a few years, and then I went back to Colorado on tour and, like, was playing drums, and it's like, oh, like, 3 songs in, I'm, like, winded. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
fuck, like, I can't
fucking
actually breathe, dude. It's crazy.
Dude, it's the same thing for me going back to Bend, and Bend isn't even as high as fucking Colorado. I mean, it's Denver. Like, Denver's a mile high.
Yeah.
Bend's like, I want to say it's taken a look at 4,000.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
You know, I want to say it's like between 3 and 4 somewhere.
Yeah, and even Fort Collins is a little under Denver, but, like, yeah, no, I mean, no one fucking anticipates what the altitude will do to you, and it will fuck you up. It will fuck you up so hard.
It'll at least dry you out, man. Like, it's fucking gnarly.
Yeah. Totally.
And we, you know...
Well, and just the lack of oxygen to the brain. Like, you can't account for what that does to you, and it makes you think differently. And yeah, it's crazy.
Well, and I mean, we were honestly, like, probably more prepared for it than a lot of people, just because we were coming from Bend, which is already high desert, you know?
Sure.
So, like, we weren't...
No, that's probably why you guys did okay.
Yeah. We weren't mile high, but, like, close, you know?
Yeah.
So, fucking, we fared fairly well, you know, as well as our friends from Madras and, you know, everyone else who's on the high plateau.
Oh, man, damn. That's so wild. I definitely remember this. I definitely remember this event.
Yeah.
And it was a big news story when I was a kid, so...
Yeah, we spent one more night in the Fort Collins High School, and then...
So you met at the staging area, gathered all your people, and then cruised back to Fort Collins.
Yep. And then my mom had her van. Like, I want to say that she was... Fuck, I don't remember exactly how it worked. Like, I think we had school buses to take us to and from Fort Collins, but everybody kind of got there under their own power somehow, or carpooled.
Yeah.
So, like we cut out from Fort Collins in my mom's van, and we drove back through Steamboat Springs and visited her cousin who lives there. And my second cousin, Zach, got me to smoke pot for my second time.
Nice.
And I got it that time. And holy shit, did I get fucking ripped. It was amazing. So, like, we get out to his house, and... Oh, no, that's right. So, we go to... Like, I think she had two cousins who were living in Steamboat. Because, like, we go to, like... Or maybe it was, like, her mom's sister is living there. Like, we go to Grandma's house, I want to say. And we're, like, watching Beavis and Butthead in the basement. And then... my aunt is like, hey, why doesn't Matthew come back with us to our house out in the woods, and like he can hang out with Zach? And Zach was like, fuck yeah. And I'm like,
right?
Fuck yeah. And so we get out there, and like,
because he's cool.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, let's go watch Beavis and Butthead, and I was like, fuck
Yes!
yeah, let's. And like, we get out there, and he's got like Gwar and like a bunch of fucking other weird metal and shit.
Yeah.
And like, he's a skater, and I'm
Yes!
just like, dude, you're fucking awesome. And he's like his homie's out there for some reason, and like, he's like, you want to go fucking smoke weed out in the woods? And I'm like, duh. So we go out there, and like, we built a little campfire, and there's like some lawn chairs out there, and like, he shows me these shitty little weed plants that he's got growing, and like, fucking, we smoke all this fucking homegrown outdoor that he's got, and get super ripped. And I start quoting fucking Holy Grail to them, because I can do that at this point.
Yes.
Like, I know the entire movie start to finish.
Fucking A.
So I'm just giving him the highlights. Like, I think I launched with the Holy Hand Grenade speech and just had him falling out of the chairs already. So, figured I'd dig in with a little other shit. And yeah, so like, we had a great time out there, like, just laughing our asses off. And, eventually, like, it gets really late, and we come back to the house, and we fucking pass out. And then the next morning, we go back out in the woods, because he's got to water his weed plants, and we get high again. And, dude, it hasn't been like 15 minutes. Like, I've basically had enough time to get really blazed. And then I hear, Matthew! And I'm like, oh, shit. Did you guys hear that too? And they're like, yeah, dude, that's your mom. And I'm like, no, we're high. And they're like, yeah, we're high, but that was definitely your mom.
No, dog.
And
That's your mom.
And I'm like, well, we can't go back. And they're like, oh, no, we have to go back. And
I thought you were gonna say, like, well, we're not going back, but you have to go back.
And I'm like, but guys, I'm fucking high. And they're like, so? Fucking fake it. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm really fucking high. And they're like, well, I mean, what are you gonna do, man? Like, she's gonna come looking for us. Like,
Yeah.
we gotta go back, or they're gonna think something's up. And I'm like, oh, you guys have done this before. All right. And I'm pretty sure I'm just fucked here. And we go back, and I can tell that my mom's like, okay, this is weird. And I just go straight to the fridge and pour myself a pint of milk, and I pound it. And then I go in Zach's room, and I lay down on the bed, and I take my shoes off. And my mom comes in, and she's like, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, hi, yeah, I'm okay. And she's
Just all that Pope nonsense.
like,
It's
I had nothing. And she's like, all right, well, we're gonna go. Do you want to put your shoes on? And I'm like, okay. And I get in the car, and she's like, you all right? And I'm like, yeah, I think I just have altitude sickness. And she's like,
boom.
oh, altitude sickness. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna take a nap for a while. And she's like, okay.
Yeah.
So I slept until we got to Salt Lake City, and saw the Sinclair gas station sign for the first time with the dinosaur on it.
Hell yeah.
Thought that was pretty dope. And we got back to Bend, and there's not a whole lot more to the story, but fast forward to years later when I'm talking to my mom about, smoking weed, and I got grounded for smoking weed and all this other shit.
Sure.
So, we're just I'm an adult now, and we're just talking about, when I was younger and getting high, and she's like, I fucking knew.
Yeah.
It's like,
of course she did.
There was no doubt in my mind that you were blazed out of your head, but, I just wanted to make sure you're okay, because, it seemed like you're having a good time, so, whatever, as long as you're okay, that's all that matters. And I'm like, wow, I thought you were just going to nail my ass to the wall, and she's like, no, I definitely didn't want to mess with you when you were high. That could be a lot worse than doing something later. Oh, and I should mention, actually, earlier in the day, before I went and got high with Zach, we were in Steamboat Springs just kind of trolling around downtown and stuff. And I bought Cedar Incense and I bought Pearl Jam 10 on cassette.
Yeah!
Which was the first tape that I ever bought with my own money.
Nice.
And I went home and I burned some incense and I listened to Pearl Jam. And my folks were just convinced that I was a fucking stoner after that.
Right?
But I will say,
I mean, they wouldn't be wrong.
Well, no, here's the thing. I got fucking baked as fuck with Zach, but I didn't really know where to get it. And my friends weren't really smoking, apart from Sean, and he was having a really hard time hiding that shit from his mom. So hanging out with us was kind of his way to do stuff without getting blazed, But later that year, I found out that my sister had started smoking weed, and she was 13, and I'm a year and a half older than her. So
damn.
I was like, "What? You smoke weed?" She's like, "Dude, I smoke weed all the time." I'm like, "What? What the fuck?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's fucking great." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, I've smoked weed," and she's like, "Well, cool." I'm like, "God damn, I should fucking smoke more weed." And so I was like, guys, what do you think about smoking weed? And so we got some weed that weekend.
Yeah.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
We weren't gonna let my sister be cooler than us,
No, totally. That's great.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
So Zach definitely is the one who corrupted me, but if it wasn't for my sister being such an unapologetic fucking loady,
yeah,
in high school, she's now clean and sober, and God bless her. But I had something to prove, and I was getting after it.
You would have found it eventually, but
Oh, absolutely no, and I don't mean to suggest that my sister is the whole reason that I fucking started using drugs, because that's not true at all. Obviously, I had friends who were already into it and were going to get me into it.
You would have found it eventually.
I'd already lied to Sean about fucking smoking it.
Right,
so,
right.
And he and I later became partners in crime. We were basically thick as thieves all through high school.
Hell yeah. Damn, dude. Well, that's a lot of insight into your childhood, man.
Yeah, those were formative years, you know? Showered with a priest, Tim saw a dead guy, we all almost died in Cherry Creek Park, and I got actually high for the first time. Well, and really just got high in general at all because of this whole thing,
Right. Huh. Wild, man.
Yeah. Oh, and just as an interesting side note, because I don't think we're ever going to touch on this particular youth group trip to the Wallowa Mountains. We took a Bend youth group trip to the Wallowas, and me and Tom got high again out in the woods, and he's like, man, you're a lot better at this now. And I'm like, yeah.
You're not trying to burn down the forest.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, I'm really sorry about that. That was some fucking amateur hour bullshit. And he's like, that was a real bummer, man, because I'd spent a lot of money on that weed because I didn't know any better. And that was my last bowl, and you fucking blew it out. And I'm just like, dude, I'm sorry. He's like, it's cool, man. I got all this good shit now. And
we'll figure it out, but...
Dude, we got so blissfully high on that day. We're running down this fucking forested hillside that's exactly at the perfect pitch that as a fucking teenager you can run down at full tilt.
Yeah.
Without like getting fucked up, you know, and you can just leap into the air and feel like you're flying for a minute and then fucking catch your stride again, keep running, and there's fucking giant ponderosa pines just like flying by. It feels like you're in the Ewok forest, you know?
Hell
like,
yeah, man.
Oh, God. Like, and it's like, it's that perfect kind of like late in the day summertime light, like fucking Maxfield Parrish paintings, you know?
Right,
like,
totally.
holy fucking shit. Like,
Yep.
one of the best high times of my life.
That's such the coolest thing about like getting high out in nature, like even just stone or tripping, but when you catch lighting just right, you're like, oh man, like we're capturing something right
Yeah,
here. It's
man.
so cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what's so cool about some of those classic artists is that they were actually able to capture that shit. And so you can look at that stuff and go, fuck, this looks like a painting. You know what I'm saying?
And I think this is pretty well known, but you know that's the whole thing with Monet, right? Was that he declared that he was painting light.
Yep.
And light changes every 7 or 8 minutes.
Yep.
And so that's why his paintings have the effect that they do, is because he's looking at one thing, but the light's changing over time. And if he's painting that thing over several hours, that light is changing multiple times throughout that painting.
Hell yeah.
But he always declared that that's what he was painting light. So it's like fucking some cool shit, dude.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hell yeah, man. Cool, man. Let's call it?
Yeah.
All right. Hell yeah.